Games today are pushing the limits of what's possible, but unfortunately, they're also pushing the limits of our wallets. The $70 for the big titles has become the new standard, and not to mention on the microtransactions and ads-on. It's like you can't even enjoy the full game without being asked to buy a little more to keep up. For many years, $60 was the standard amount for the AAA games. It was simple, predictable, and you knew exactly what you were getting. But now, $70 is the new standard. Developers says it's because games are more expensive to make now, which I get. But honestly, it feels like you pay more for the same thing, or sometimes even less. And then there is the whole microtransaction stuff. You pay $70 up front and then suddenly you are face to face with the battle passes, skins, DLCs, and a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't in the original package. We're not talking about like small amount here. These extras are raking in billions. For players, that $70 is just the price of admission to the real cost of the game. Some people think $70 is worth it, as long as the game gives you full experience without holding back content for extra cash. Back in the 90s, games for consoles like SNES, Sega Genesis, and PlayStation typically cost around $50 to $60, and if we adjust for the inflation, yeah, that's about $90 to $110 today, way more than the $70 we pay now for the big titles. But here's the thing though, back then when you pay the price, you actually got the whole game with no hidden costs, no DLCs, no microtransactions. It was just you, your console, and a solid game. But then we hit the year 2000s, prices started rising up a bit, but then the internet became popular and digital content exploded, and suddenly developers were like, we could charge more, right? So we got DLCs, which were actually good at first, but that also paved the way for microtransactions. Like extra costs started popping up everywhere, and by the early 2010, it was just normal to spend more for just about everything. And speaking of paying more, pricey is a thing. Not that I'm saying you should do it, but rising prices like these are part of why people even think about it. I actually talk about this in my last video, so if you're curious, you might want to check it out, just to stay informed. A big part of it is the rising cost of actually making the games. Modern AAA games can cost anywhere from $50 million to $200 million to develop. That covers everything from the salaries of the design team to the technology needed to bring these massive detail worlds to display. With bigger games, more complex graphics, and advanced AI, it's no surprise that the price tags are getting steeper. And new technology are a big part of why these costs are so high. Graphics have evolved drastically. Modern games require incredibly detailed and realistic visuals that demand powerful hardware and specialized software. AI has also made its way into games, but it requires a lot of resources to develop and refine. All of this means that creating a top-tier game is a much bigger investment than it used to be, and as technology advances, it's likely that the cost to make these games will only continue to rise. This explains why developers are leaning more on things like microtransactions and DLC to recoup those massive budgets, because while it costs more to make these games, the hope is that they will make that money back and more once the game hits the market. When you compare AAA games to the indie game, it's obvious that indie games often cost a lot less but still manage to deliver really great experiences. Indie studios are usually smaller, so their budgets are much tighter, but that often leads to more creative freedom. They focus on unique personal experience rather than trying to appeal to the broadest audience possible. Games like Hades, Celeste, and Undertale are perfect examples. They might not have the same production value or scope as AAA games, but they make up for it with strong gameplay, emotional depth, and original ideas. On the other hand, AAA games come with a hefty price tag. The development costs can be huge, with big team, high-end graphics, and massive marketing budgets. But does the higher price always justify the experience? Not really. While AAA games like The Last of Us Part 2 or Elden Ring often offer incredibly polished experience with these crazy graphics and massive world building, some players feel like the money spent doesn't always reflect the quality of the gameplay or the overall experience. Indie games show that you don't need a huge budget or a massive studio to create something special. Smaller teams, driven by passion and creativity, can give players some of the most fresh and impactful gaming experience, often for a much better price. For a lot of people, that's why indie games can feel so special. Well, for me, the price of game isn't always justified by how flashy its graphics are or how big the budget is. What really matters is the gameplay, the story, and how it makes you feel. It's easy to get caught up in the hype of a AAA game with stunning visual, but honestly, graphics has never been my main focus. I care more about how engaging the game is, how well the story is told, and if it is fun to play. Take Stardew Valley for example. It's not a graphical masterpiece, but its charm, depth, and the way it pulls you into its world are what make it unforgettable. That's the kind of experience I look for. You don't need the best graphics to make a game that sticks with you. It's all about the heart of the game and what it offers beyond just looking good. As for the rising costs in gaming, I think it's important to realize that the industry is changing, but that doesn't always mean it is for the better. Yes, game costs more to make now, and new technology has definitely driven up production cost. But it's not just about how much you spend, it's about the experience you're getting. So is $70 for a game worth it? But that really depends on what you value. For some, all the extra content, the huge world, and top tier graphics are worth the price. For others, It's the story, the gameplay, and the personal connection that really matter. As gamers, we have to be smart about how we deal with these rising prices. Instead of just accepting the higher price tag, there are ways to make it easier on your wallet. Waiting for sales, subscribing to services like Xbox Game Pass or PlayStation Plus, and checking out indie games that delivers a lot of value without the hefty price. These options don't always get enough attention, but they are a great way to enjoy gaming without spending a ton of money. At the end of the day, gaming is about experience. Whether you enjoy a simple indie game like Stardew Valley or diving into the world of Elden Ring, it's about the joy, the challenge, the story we live through. So don't let rising prices or business model make you feel like your worth as a gamer is tied to how much you spend. Play what you love, support what you enjoy, but always remember, the best games are the ones that connect with you, no matter the price or how they're made. If the rising costs are stressing you out, take a step back. There are still plenty of ways to enjoy games. Wait for sales, use those subscription services, or check out indie games that pack a punch for a fraction of the cost. And that's where we will leave it for today. Please leave a like and subscribe if you found the video interesting. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you later.